Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We will continue our study of Bhakti Vaibhav. And today we will try to finish verses 16 to 22. 16 to 22. If possible, even 23, but I don't think we'll get that far. But we'll try to do verses 16 to 22 of chapter 2. Hmm. So I'll get started with the prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yadkripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Krishna Chaitanyam Ishwaram नमामो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधारा श्रीवसादि गौरभक्तवृन्दा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपः कुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः. Hare Krishna. So we are in chapter 2 of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So a quick review, like we always do. The Srimad Bhagavatam began with the famous first three verses, the invocation, the introduction and the invitation of Srimad Bhagavatam. Right after that, the sages assembled in Naimisharanya and they wanted to do the 1,000-year yajna, but it was of no avail. And that's when Sutta Goswami, he enters the arena. They give Sutta Goswami the seat of honor and they ask him 6 questions. So you all must have memorized the 6 questions by now. What is the ultimate good for people in general? What is the essence of all scriptures? Why did Krishna take birth in the womb of Devaki from Vasudev? And then who are the Purusha avatars? Who are the Leela avatars? And then finally, where did Dharma take shelter of after the departure of Sri Krishna? Right? These are the 6 questions. So by the end of the first chapter, you heard the 6 questions asked by the sages of Naimisharanya. This is definitely a short answer question that you have to attempt. So you can mark that. So in chapter 2, the chapter 2 is titled Divinity and Divine Service. Chapter 1 is titled Questions by the Sages. So remember the chapter names also because it will be handy as we keep proceeding. Okay, so chapter 2 is Divinity and Divine Service. The reason it is titled Divinity and Divine Service is because this gives the identity of Krishna. It speaks about Krishna, who is the Supreme Lord. It speaks about Bhakti. It also talks about Prema. So this is all defined in this one chapter, and therefore Prabhupada calls this chapter Divinity and Divine Service. So Sutta Goswami, he attempts to reply because he's asked such nice questions, right? So first of all, he glorifies the sages' questions and then he offers his obeisances we see Narayana, Namaskritya, Naram Chaiva, Narottamam. But before that, he offers his obeisances to Shukdev Goswami, who can enter the hearts of all, right? So he offers his obeisances to Shukdev Goswami, then he offers this beautiful prayer, Narayana Namaskritya, Naram Chaiva, Narottamam. And then he gives answer, Save Pumsam Bharo Dharma Yatho Bhaktiradokshaje. And this is the answer to questions 1 and 2. All right. So after he gave answers to 1 and 2, he also said a few other things like Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janyatyashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayada Haitukam. That means once you develop bhakti to Vasudeva, automatically jnana and vairagya are byproducts. Okay, you don't have to separately endeavor for that. So he glorifies the bhakti process after he tells that bhakti is the answer to the first two questions. Now, right after he said this, he watched the reaction of the sages and he thought, okay, all these sages are coming from different backgrounds. So definitely some of them must be thinking that varnashrama is the goal of life. So for that, he says this varnashrama is definitely not the parodharma. In fact, occupational duties are only shrama eva hi kevalam. It's just useless labor if it doesn't invoke rati to Vishvaksena. So he says dharma svanushtitah pumsa Vishvaksena kathasuya notpadiyet yatiravtim shrama eva hi kevalam. Right? So he tells us that you can do varnashram, all that is fine, but what's the use if you're not able to invoke that attraction to the message of Lord Sri Krishna? So having said that, he says occupational duties, even if you're performing that, you should aim for ultimate liberation. You should not get stuck with occupational duties. Dharmasya hi apavargasya. Right? Mataji explained that so nicely about apavarga. So dharmasya hi apavargasya. So you try to, there is no point doing dharma and getting stuck in this pavarga. Rather, you should aim for liberation. And then he tells that, see, everybody, you all have different conceptions of God. Many people have impersonalistic conceptions. Some people think God is just Paramatma. So he talks about the Tattva, right? Right after that, he says, Vadanti tat Tattva Vida, Tattvam yat jnanamadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdete. So the Supreme Absolute Truth is known in three features. He's known as Brahman, he's known as Paramatma, and he's known as Bhagavan. And from the previous class, you all must have understood how the Bhagavan feature is the most complete feature of understanding the Supreme Absolute Truth. Okay? Then he talks about the process. Okay, Bhagavan features the Supreme Absolute Truth. But then what is the process of realizing this Absolute Truth? For that he says, Shraddha-dhanaya munayo jnana vairagya yuktaya. So he says that you should basically learn the truth from the people who have seen the truth, right? You should learn it from realized souls. So he says, ultimately, the purpose of Varnashrama Dharma is only to please the Lord, Haritoshanam. So even if you're doing Varnashram Dharma, your aim is Haritoshanam. So with one pointed attention, Tasmad ekena manasa, with one pointed attention, Bhagavan Satvatam Badihi, Shrotavyah, Kirtitavyascha, Dhyeya, Pujyascha Nityada. So you must hear about him, you must glorify him, you must think or you must do dhyan or you must do smriti of him and you worship him. That is what you must be doing. So all this varnashrama is only to the point that you can please the main focus of varnashram dharma is to please the Lord. It is for haritoshanam. And for haritoshanam, what should you do? You should always hear, you must chant, you must think of the Lord, and you must worship the Lord. So like this, with the sword in the hand, that was the last verse that we saw. So Suta Goswami told the sages who are all attracted to Varnashrama Dharma, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear, glorify, worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then he said, Yad anudhyasina yukta. So take a sword in your hand and you cut through the knots of karma by remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then who wouldn't have attraction to hear the message of the Supreme Lord? So with a sword in the hand, intelligent men cut through the binding knots of reaction work by remembering the personality of Godhead. Therefore, who will not pay attention to his message? So this is what we have seen so far. So we just saw answer to first two questions, and then Sutta Goswami started addressing about Varnashrama Dharma because he didn't want them to have further doubts. Now that he declared that Bhakti is actually the essence of all scriptures and the ultimate good for people in general. So now he has declared, he's given the answer, right? So now that he has given the answer and he smashed the conception that Varnashrama Dharma is all in all, And he has told everybody, even if you're doing Varnashram Dharma, the goal should be Haritoshanam. He has declared all of this. Now, then, how does this, how do you do this bhakti? How does bhakti progress? What are the different stages in bhakti? That will be the immediate question that is popping up in the mind of all the sages and also in our minds. So, to address that, from 16 to 21, now Sutta Goswami will talk to us about the bhakti process. Now, the bhakti process for all the Bhakti Vaibhav students is not new. You all know it already. So, anyone knows how bhakti progresses in 9 stages, beginning with Shraddha? Anyone wants to say that? Yes, Adamani Mataji. Go ahead, Sadamani. Oh, she got dropped. Okay.
Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, then Bhajan Kriya, Anartha Nivriti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, and Prem.
Very nice. So, since everybody has already done Bhakti Shastri before starting Bhakti Vaibhav, you all know the 9 stages. You've been tested on this multiple times. So, you know the 9 stages by heart, right? So, it is Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivriti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, and Prema. So, everybody knows this. Right? But now, what we are going to do is through verses 16 to 21, we are going to go through these 9 stages in a little more detail. Actually, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, whose commentary even Srila Prabhupada has taken up in his purports to explain these verses, he explains 14 stages of bhakti. So these 9 stages are slightly expanded, okay? Slightly expanded, and they are explained through verses 16 to 21. So verses 16 to 21 are called as the bhakti process verses. Now everybody who all have Subodhini, you can use Subodhini as a guide for this section. You can use Subodhini as a guide for everything, in fact. So the recommendation for Bhakti Vaibhav study is to read Srila Prabhupada's purports, and you can use Subodhini as a guide to understand the flow, so that you know what you're studying. Okay, sometimes it is good to have a flow to the contents. Otherwise, you can't connect one verse with the other. So for that sake, definitely, please, it's highly recommended to use Subodhini. The rest is all optional. This because definitely Bhakti Vaibhav has nothing much to do with the Vaishnava Acharya commentaries. We're not going to test on all of that. That is all for your self-interest. If you want to study, you can study. But for the exam purposes, we will just be focusing on Srila Prabhupada's purports, and definitely use guidebooks. It helps a lot to make connections, okay? And also the guidebooks have some key inputs from Vaishnava Acharya commentaries, which is useful to understand Srila Prabhupada's purports better. For that sake, we will also take some key points from the Acharya's purports. Okay, there's no harm. We will take a few points, but that is not our focus. Our focus will be Prabhupada purport. Okay, so for those who are studying per se for the exam, if you're having study groups or something, please focus on Prabhupada's purports. That's the recommendation. Because Prabhupada has also included their commentaries, and not only that, we will also talk a little bit so that we enhance the study better. And of course, Subodhini will also have what is needed. Okay, having said that, let's get into verses 16 to 21. So, Sadamani Mataji just told us the 9 progressive stages. But then we mentioned in these verses, 14 progressive stages are mentioned. And it is not very different from the 9. It's just a few extra key points that are mentioned in these few verses. So, keeping that in mind, let's read what text 16 is. 16 is Sushushoho Shraddadhanasya Vasudeva Katharuchihi Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevanat. Translation, anyone wants to read the translation?
I can read Mataji. Hare Krishna Pranam. Sorry, Satyam Prabhu, you want to go? I just saw your hand raised.
No, please go ahead. I'll probably read next time.
Thank you. O twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudev.
Very nice, Mataji. Thank you so much. Now, all of you nicely focus on the translation and connect the 9 stages. So, you all know the 9 stages. It is Shraddha, Sadhusanga, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti. Then it is Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, and Prema. These are the 9 stages you all know from your Bhakti Shastri studies, right? These are the 9 stages. Now, in this one verse, can you identify some of the elements of the 9 stages? Just read the translation and you feel free. There's no wrong answer. Just to brainstorm so that we understand these verses nicely. Can you identify anybody? Some stages that are there already in this verse?
Mahat Sevaya, like service.
Yes. Okay. Very nice. Mahat Sevaya, which is service. Very nice.
Anartha Nivritti from all vice.
Anartha Nivritti is slowly going to come. It's not, if, yeah, it's there actually here. You're completely, no, but the devotees are freed from all vice, right? By serving those devotees, you are not yet free from vice. That will come next.
Gotcha.
Shraddha Danasya is the
Shraddha Danasya, Shraddha, the first step. The first step is correct. The second step, Satyam Prabhu said, Mahat Seva. So can you say according to our 9 stages what it is?
Sadhu Sangha.
Sadhu Sangha. Very nice. And one more element is there here.
Ruchi.
Preaching.
was Bhajana
Bhajana Kriya.
Yeah, hearing the messages of Vasudeva, right? The 3 points are there already in this one verse. Shushruhoho Shraddhadanasya, this verse 16. In the 16th verse, we got 3 of the 9 processes of devotional service. We got Shraddha, we got Sadhu Sangha, and we got Bhajana Kriya. So, Sya Mahat Sevaya Vipra means made possible by service to great devotees. Hearing with great care and attention is Shushruhoho Shraddhadanasya. Serving those who are freed from all vice is Punya Tirtha Nishevanath. Eager to hear the message of Vasudeva as Vasudeva Katharuchi. Okay, so much you have heard. Now, you know Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya. 3 points are there in this one verse. But then, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, I told you, he gives 14 stages instead of 9 stages. So, he splits these 3 as actually 4 stages. So, he says, you have Satam Kripa, which is causeless mercy of devotees. Because you have Satam Kripa, which is the causeless mercy of devotees, you start to render some service, which is Mahat Seva, okay? Rendering service to devotees. Then you develop faith, which is developed by serving these devotees. First, they give kripa. The devotees give kripa. Remember, in the previous class also we discussed Bhakti comes from the Bhakti of another, from the Bhakti that is there in the heart of another devotee. Remember, we were discussing this. So, Satam Kripa. The devotees are giving kripa. Then you are serving them. Because of their causeless mercy, you are attracted to them, you start serving them. And as you're serving them, you develop Shraddha. Shraddha is developed by serving the devotees. So he adds 2 more points before Shraddha. Okay. Our understanding of 9 limbs is there. That is correct. But before coming to Shraddha, he's adding 2 more points, which is Satam Kripa and Mahat Seva. And he says that you also do Guru Padashraya and then you have Bhajaneshu Spruha. So till Guru Padashraya, it's actually in one sense, 4 items are there in this particular verse. Satam Kripa, Mahat Seva, Shraddha and Guru Padashraya. Okay, Bhajaneshu Spruha is also there because you've started hearing. Bhajana Kriya has started. The Bhajaneshu Spruha means eagerness to start worship. Okay, that is already started. Actually, in the first verse also, it will flow to the next verse. 2. Okay, so what all happened here? According to our 9 processes, we got Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya and 1 verse. Not only that, according to the 14 stages of Bhakti as given by Chakravarti Thakur, which is also embedded in Srila Prabhupada's purport, it is important for our study as well. That's why we are discussing so much about it. He says there is Satam Kripa, then there is Mahat Seva, because in the verse also it talks about Satam Kripa, Mahat Seva. Satyam Prabhu was telling, right? He said Mahat Seva. So Satam Kripa, Mahat Seva, then Shraddha, Once you have developed Shraddha, what happens to all devotees? We want to take shelter of a spiritual master. We begin aspiring. We want to take Guru Padashray. So that Guru Padashray comes after Shraddha, then Bhajaneshu Spruha. There is so much desire to hear and chant. It keeps increasing. Okay. So we have covered almost 5 points in one particular verse. But according to the 9 processes, 3 have already started. Now let's see Srila Prabhupada's purport, because that is also very important for our study. So the translation is, O twice-born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. So what is happening? We conditioned souls, we are all suffering in this material world. But then when we see devotees and we have a little tendency to serve these devotees, by the mercy of the devotee, we start gaining affinity to do devotional service. Especially devotion begins with hearing about the messages of Vasudeva from such transcendental devotees whose association we have desired to take. That is what the translation is saying. Now, Prabhupada, in the purport, he begins to first analyze our condition. He says, we are all in this conditioned living, in this conditioned atmosphere of this material world. And we conditioned living beings, we have this tendency to revolt against the Lord. Actually, our whole existence in this material world is because we have the tendency to revolt against the authority of the Lord. So, Prabhupada is telling us there are men who are called as devas or godly living beings, and there are men who are called as asuras or demons who are against the Supreme Lord. In Bhagavad Gita, in the 16th chapter, we all know there is a vivid description of asuras and the devas, right? These asuras, what happens? They are put to lower species because of their tendency to revolt, and they don't have any interest in attaining any information about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But then over a period of time, they are given a chance and they are gradually rectified to God consciousness by the mercy of these great devotees. So that's why this verse is telling, go and take association of such great devotees. According to the supreme will of the Lord, many such devotees are sent to different countries of the world. Just like how we all got Srila Prabhupada, right? We all got Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada came here, and because of Satam Kripa and Mahat Seva to Srila Prabhupada, slowly our Shraddha was developed and we took Guru Padashraya, correct? So, by the mercy of the Lord, some great devotees, confidential associates of the Lord, they are sent to different countries so that the human society can be saved. Okay, there is godlessness everywhere. But the servants of the Lord, who are the associates of the Lord, they come to reclaim the fallen souls. Now, it is very, very pertinent to understand that these great personalities who are chosen by the Lord and whom Lord sends to this material world to reclaim the different souls, they never falsely claim themselves to be God. If a guru claims himself to be God, it is considered blasphemy. Okay, it is asuric tendency. This is blasphemy declared by the asuras and the demoniac followers of such asuras. They accept pretenders to be God. So a guru will never consider himself God, nor will he allow his disciples to call him God. So that is the most important thing Srila Prabhupada is telling. Great associates of the Lord, representatives of the Lord come from time to time to reclaim the souls, but they are not the same as God. One may be godly, but one doesn't become God. Okay? And he tells us that if you want to know who God is, it is there in the revealed scriptures. Unless information is given in the revealed scriptures, one cannot accept any normal human being or any human being for that matter as God. It has to be confirmed in the revealed scriptures. But we should understand that they are powerful representatives of God. Prabhupada has this beautiful phrase. He says, a guru is as good as God, but he's not God. Okay, he's as good as God, but he's not God. He's a powerful servant of the Lord. So he says, servants of God are to be respected as God by the devotees who actually want to go back to Godhead. Such servants are called as Mahatmas or Tirthas. And what are they doing? They are coming here to preach according to time, place, and circumstance. Just like Srila Prabhupada. He came to the Western world to preach based on the situation, based on the circumstances in this material world. So they never tolerate being called God. If their followers call them God, in fact, they get upset, like Srila Prabhupada. There are stories of how in Leelamrit, if you read, he was at one point in time, there was a little disturbance and he was called as being Krishna. But Prabhupada never tolerated that. He never tolerated that. That is a real guru. If a guru is encouraging his followers to call him God, then we should understand this is bogus. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he himself, he's non-different from Krishna, but he came to this material world and he took up the role of a devotee. And when some people, not his confidential associates, but the commoners, when they would call him God, Mahaprabhu would close his ears and say, Krishna, Krishna. And he would chant the names of Vishnu or Krishna, and he would forbid them from calling him God. Why? Because he wanted to teach by example. Of course, his intimate associates were the only one who knew his true identity, and he revealed his identity to some confidential associates. So, these servants of God, they come to reclaim the living entities. So they are the servant of God and they are pleasing the Lord by reclaiming all these different living entities who are in this asuric mentality, who are falling down, who are revolting and who are conditioned in this material world. So Supreme Lord is very pleased when he sees such servants who are coming and preaching and taking the risk of taking back these reclaims, these souls who are suffering. Therefore, the Lord declares in the Bhagavad Gita, you all know this, 18.69, this beautiful verse. I can also share the verse. You can open it up, that no one is more dear to him than a person who has taken the risk of preaching. Nacha tasman manusheshu kaschinme priyakrittamaha bhavita nacha me tasmad anya priyatharo bhuvi. So you all know this verse where the Supreme Lord says, there is no servant in this world more dear to me than, nor will there be anyone more dear. So basically he's telling that such a devotee who comes to preach is extremely dear to him. No one is dearer to him than one who risks everything to preach his glory. By serving the Lord, one gradually gets the quality of such servants. That means in this verse, it is telling that such great personalities, when they come, what should we do? We should take the opportunity to serve them. By serving such great devotees, one gradually gets the quality of such servants and becomes qualified to hear about God. So when you do that Mahat Seva, that time what happens? Your Shraddha increases, you attain Guru Padashraya and you develop Bhajana Spruha, which means you also gradually develop the qualities of such dear servants and you become qualified to hear the messages of Lord. So the eagerness to hear about God is the very first qualification of a devotee and it makes him eligible to enter the kingdom of God. Okay, so what did we see in this verse? We saw that there are great devotees like Srila Prabhupada who are selected by the Lord and who come into this material world. Why are they coming to this material world? To reclaim the fallen souls. What should we do? We do service to them. Okay, so a great service is done to them. And by this great service, what is the thing that we are getting? We get affinity for hearing the message of Vasudeva, Bhajana Spruha. So we get the affinity to hear about Krishna, which makes our first element of bhakti to sprout. Okay, that's the first step in doing bhakti, and we become eligible to go to the kingdom of God. That was verse number 16. Now, what do you have to do after that? Okay, you got the interest to hear about God. So then what do you do? So that is verse number 17. It's a memorization verse. Maybe somebody can, maybe two people can raise hand and repeat this verse once I'm done. That way it enters our system. Shrinvatam swakatha Krishna punya shravana kirtanaha Hridayantasto hi abhadrani vidunoti suhurit satam. Satyam Prabhu.
I can try. Shravatam Shravatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hidayantastho He Abhadrani Vidhonoti Shuhasatam.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. And who's the other one? Parampalni, yeah.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Take 17. Shrimatam Svakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridayanta Stohi Abhadrani Vidhonoti Shuritsatam.
Thank you so much. So, Nisha Mataji, you raised your hand. Can you read the translation, please?
Yes, Mataji, thank you. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted.
Very nice. So now, can someone tell me, in that 9 processes, there are 2 processes that are mentioned here. Any guesses what the 2 processes are?
Mataji, go ahead, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Mataji, Shravana and Kirtana.
Yes, and one more. Shravana Kirtana is correct. One more.
Cleanliness. Cleanliness, like what is that? Anartha Nibriti Vidhunoti.
Yes, clean. This is the desire for material enjoyment. Anartha Nivriti. Very nice. So basically, here in this section, there is Bhajana Kriya and Anartha Nivriti. So both is happening in this stage. So this verse is very, very famous. We all chant this verse before giving Bhagavatam class, right? Other than Ashtaprayeshwa, Bhadreshwa, we also say Srinvatam Swagata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana. These are also Mangalacharan verses for citing Srimad Bhagavatam. So it says that Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, is the Paramatma in everyone's heart, and he is the benefactor of the devotee. Okay, he's our well-wisher. What is he doing? He is cleansing the desire for material enjoyment within the heart of the devotee who has developed that urge to hear, like Parampavani was telling, hearing and chanting. And when they are really virtuous when properly heard and chanted, these messages of the Supreme Lord. So what is happening? The cleansing process is also happening as you hear and chant. So for that, Srila Prabhupada says, these messages of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that we are hearing, be it either Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, they are actually non-different from him. Krishna, his name, form, qualities, messages, everything is non-different from Krishna. So when we have offenseless hearing of the glorification of God, then we can understand that Krishna in the form of transcendental sound is present there. He's present right there. Okay, Krishna and his name, his pastimes, his form, they are all non-different. His paraphernalia, everything is non-different. If it is done without any offenses, with nice attention, you can imagine that Krishna in the form of sound is present right there. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Sikshashtakam prayers, he also says that the Lord has put in his potencies in innumerable number of names that he has. Which verse is that? Anybody would like to take a guess? The name of the Lord has all the potencies of the Lord, and it is endowed with innumerable names, the same potencies.
Namna Kari
Bahudani Sarva Shakti. Very nice. So, and the best part of chanting the holy names or hearing about Krishna is that there is no specific rules. Prabhupada is telling there's no fixture of time. Anyone can chant the holy name with attention and reverence at his convenience, right? There are no hard and fast rules and regulations for chanting the holy names. Now, if you think about mantras that have bijas, okay, there are different bijas in mantras. For that, there are many rules, like chanting Gayatri. There are many rules. You should be clean. You should sit properly. You should count properly, close your eyes. There are many rules and regulations. You should chant at this time, you should not chant at that time. So there are many rules. But then Nama, the names of Krishna, like Mahamantra is Nama, it's Nama Japa. So you have the names of Krishna. There are no fixed rules and regulations. You can chant nicely and if you just have to chant with some love and attention, and Krishna, who's non-different from the sound vibration, is present right there. So he's very kind. Krishna is very kind, and he's ready to be present there in this transcendental sound. But unfortunately, our condition is that we don't have so much taste for glorifying his name. So how do we develop that taste? Prabhupada is telling it is done through the medium of service to the pure devotee of the Lord. So always remember this process. Only with sadhu sangha, only with the Mahat Seva and Satam Kripa can we develop that taste for chanting the holy names of the Lord. So once we start chanting the holy names of the Lord is very reciprocal, okay? Meaning he responds to the devotees. He sees that the devotee is very sincere. He sees that the devotee is trying to sincerely chant his holy names. So he acts from within for such a devotee. So he sees our desire and he cleanses our heart so that we may go back to Godhead. Okay, and Prabhupada is telling only very few people have this desire to go back to Krishna. But anyone who desires to go back to Krishna, Krishna helps him. So unless we are cleared from all sins, unless we are really clean, it is very difficult for us to actually make this progress to love Krishna and go back to Godhead. So because we have so many allurements in this material world, but then what is Krishna doing? He is very kind. He knows we are going to get distracted. So when we take shelter of the holy names and when we chant, he personally cleanses our heart. That's what he is doing. Hridayam tasto hi abhadrani. He removes all the abhadras in the heart. Vidunoti suhrat satam. So he comes and he personally cleans in such a way that we become eligible to go back. And Prabhupada is telling the problem of this world. It is very easy to become restless. Women and wealth is no astonishment. Contact with women and wealth, attraction to the opposite gender and wealth it's natural. It's naturally there in everybody. And it's there since time immemorial. And it takes a long time to recover from this disease that we have contacted. Birth after birth after birth, we are after this, right? So it takes a long time. But if we surrender to the Lord, if we take shelter of the Lord and a devotee, then they give us the sufficient strength to defend from such state of disturbances, and all the contamination, abhadras, are removed by the mercy of the Lord. So we saw Sushrushoho Shraddhadhanasya Vasudeva Katharuchihi. That means you have to serve the Satam, the great sages. You have to do Mahat Seva, you develop Shraddha, then you take Guru Padashraya, then you have Bhajaneshu Spruha. And Anartha Nivritti happens. You do Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti has happened. Now let's see what is next after Anartha Nivritti. This is also a verse to be memorized and one of the verses that is chanted before Bhagavatam. 2 more raised hands to repeat this verse. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavatyuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. It's the hand raised.
I can go, Mataji.
Yeah, go ahead.
नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी.
Parampamni?
Thank you, Mataji. Nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavadittama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki.
Okay. 2 elements are present in this section. I'll probably show the translation so it's easier. One of you can read the translation if possible, then we'll identify the 2 things in this verse.
Can I read, Mataji?
Yeah, Nisha, go ahead.
Thank you. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact.
Thank you, Mataji. I think you have to correct your mic. Your mic is having a lot of static. Yeah, but thank you so much. And one of you can identify two stages that is mentioned here. One stage is taken off from the previous verse as well. And then there is one more mentioned. Anyone can identify the two things mentioned here?
One is Anatha Nivriti only, Mataji, right? First two words,
Correct.
Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu.
Yes, yes.
And another is Nishtha.
Yes, Naishtiki, right? You see this, Naishtiki, Nishtha is firm faith, yeah, firmness and steadiness in devotional service. So, what happens as you hear, right? Krishna is coming and he's cleansing your heart and all that. But as you are attending the Bhagavatam classes, as you're hearing more and more Bhagavatam, now Bhagavata can mean two things. One is the book Bhagavata, the other is the person Bhagavata. So, as you're hearing more and more Bhagavatam, the message of the Lord, and as you're rendering more and more service to the pure Bhagavatas, to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome in the heart is completely destroyed. Okay, that is taken. We already understood that from the previous verse, but he's emphasizing as you do this, it will get cleansed. And then what happens? Is it enough if you just get cleansed? That's it. Is that the end of story? No, something positive should happen. Loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who's praised with transcendental sounds, Uttama Shloka, such a person's loving service is established very, very steadily in the heart. Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki, very firm. Okay, so as the heart is getting cleansed, we are developing Nishtha, very firm bhakti. So that is mentioned here, Anartha Nivriti and Nishtha. Here Chakravarti Pad, he says, after the stage of Bhajaneshu Spruha, here there is Bhakti. After Bhajaneshu Spruha, Spruha means slight inclination to do bhajan. Then only bhakti sprouts. Okay, so he says in this verse, bhakti, a person after having bhajaneshu spriha, he develops bhakti and all the obstacles are removed. And once all the inauspicious things are completely removed, then there is steadiness. Okay, most of us are in anartha nivritti stage. For a steady bhakti, at least I can say surely for me, mine is even below that. But to come to that point of steady bhakti, what should happen? All the inauspicious things should be removed. Like, for example, nama parada should be destroyed. Now, nama parad, right? It's eternal problem for many of us. But nama parad should be completely destroyed before we can come to the point of nishtha. So what should you do? You have to do regular classes in Bhagavatam and do regular service to great devotees. So let's see what Prabhupada is telling in the purport. Prabhupada is telling that the remedy to remove all the inauspicious things in the heart is you should have association of Bhagavatas. Two type of Bhagavatas. One is the book Bhagavat and the other is the devotee Bhagavata. They are the ones who are competent to give that remedy of cleansing the heart and removing the obstacles. So the devotee Bhagavata is leading his life according to what is mentioned in the Bhagavat. Right? Actually, even when you read the Bhagavat, you read the stories of great Bhagavatas, such great devotees. And by reading their stories, we are inspired. The Bhagavatam is a compilation of the life of Bhagavatas. So, service to Bhagavatas and hearing about Bhagavatas from the Bhagavata is very, very purifying. So, Prabhupada is telling Bhagavata book and person are identical. The Bhagavat is the direct representative of Bhagavan. So, by pleasing the devotee Bhagavata, one can receive the benefit of the book Bhagavata. Human reason fails to understand how by serving devotee Bhagavat or the book Bhagavat, one gets gradual promotion to the path of devotion. But actually, this is explained by Sri Narada. by the life of Sri Narada. So you all know what happened to Narada. Narada was a maidservant in his previous life. And how did he start his devotion? He actually went through all these different stages, these 14 stages or the 9 stages that is mentioned. Actually, Narada Muni went through that entire process. That Narada Muni's life, if you read, which you will be reading in the next few chapters, it's nothing but a testimony of going through this bhakti process right from Shraddha till Harer Madhurya Anubhava, that is the last 14 stage. So he goes through this entire process. So in Narada Muni's life, previously he was a maidservant's son, and he was engaged in the menial service of different sages. He came in contact with them, and he took the association of these sages. He accepted the remnants of the footsteps left by the sages, and then he became a great devotee, and eventually he even had the darshan, internal darshan of the Supreme Lord. So how did all this happen in the life of Narada Muni? Actually, he goes very steadily through all these different stages. How did it happen in the case of Narada Muni? It was possible only because he had the association of the Bhagavatas. If he did not have the association of the Bhagavatas, it wouldn't have been possible for Narada Muni. So, more progress is made in devotional service under the guidance of Bhagavatas, the more one becomes fixed in devotional service. So that's why they say devotee association is something that you keep taking all your life. It's not that after you have done you have taken association of devotees, taken sadhu sangha, and you have gone to the stage of bhajana kriya and anartha nivritti, and you've come to the stage of nishta, you give up Bhagavat association. No, you continue. You keep continuing, and Bharat Maharaja's life is a testimony to that you have to keep continuing. You can't stop. So we have to take association of the Bhagavatas, because ultimately it is the combination of these two Bhagavatas that will help us actually make progress and reach the higher states of bhakti. So what should we do? We should do Nityam Bhagavata Sevya. Every single day in the morning, we hear Bhagavatam, and every single day we have to take association of Bhagavatas. Whether we take association through telephone call or through Zoom call or in person, somehow or the other, every single day we should ensure that we take association of both Bhagavatas. That was verse number 18. And we saw Anartha Nivritti and Nishtha. Whereas Chakravarti Pad, what he did was, earlier he just spoke about Bhajaneshu Spriha in verse number 17. Then he came on to say, then bhakti is developed, there is anarthapagamam, that means the disappearance of obstacles, and nishtha, which is steadiness. So he also comes till nishtha. So far we all are in nishtha. Now we are going to go to text number 19. I don't think this verse is there for memorization, so we'll quickly go through this. Is it there, Kirtida Mataji? Tadarajas tamo bhava? I don't think.
No, Mataji, it's not there.
Okay. Tadarajastamo bhava kamalobhadayascha ye etair anavidham stitam sattve prasidati. Someone for the translation, please.
Can I go?
Yes, Satyam.
Yes, can I, Mataji?
Yes, anybody, whoever is available.
As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of the nature's mode of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness and he becomes completely happy.
Very nice, right? So can one of you identify some aspects of this verse? What did we learn from this verse? What all is coming? What steps are coming in this verse?
Again, Nashta pressure.
Yes, correct. All this, lower modes are going away, correct? Then?
Mataji, Ruchi.
Ah, correct. Very nice. Ruchi, yes.
Because
Ruchi.
and
Hare Krishna,
Actually,
Mataji.
correct.
Established in goodness is also a kind of bhava, Mataji. Is it a
Yeah, it
bhava?
is an asakti. It is not bhav, it is asakti, firm attachment.
Ashak. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Lust is also asakti.
Ruchi and asakti, both are coming right here. Okay, but we will understand still. We'll really pull it out and we'll try to understand. So basically what happens when the lower modes are removed, a person becomes very, very happy. The effects of the lower modes of passion and ignorance, lust, desire, and hankering, they are disappearing from the heart. Tata rajo tamas bhava kama lobhadayaschaye. All this is removed from the heart. And then what is happening? The mind is unaffected due to being established in goodness and becomes completely happy. Eta etair anavidham stitam satve prasidati. Stitam, that means steady, right? It has become sthitam. Sthitam is asaktam or firmly attached. So it's called asakti. Asaktam is sthitam. So it is asakti has also been attained right here. So there is ruchi and there is asakti right here. Okay. So this tata rajas tamo bhava is talking about ruchi and asakti. And Prabhupada begins the purport saying that the constitutional position is fully satisfied in spiritual bliss. We all have a normal constitutional position. The normal constitutional position of the soul is that we are servants of the Lord. That is our actual constitutional position. And in our actual constitutional position, we are very happy. We are very satisfied and we are in complete spiritual bliss. So this is called as Brahma Bhuta or Atmananda. It is called as self-satisfaction. And this kind of self-satisfaction it's not like the satisfaction of the inactive fool, Prabhupada says. The inactive fool is in the state of ignorance. He's a fool. He's in ignorance. But the self-satisfied is not in the state of material existence. He has transcended the material existence. So devotional service is actually the true activity of the soul. So once you have attained this devotional service, what's happening is that you have become very, very happy. You have gone beyond this material existence. You have transcended. And hence you feel happy because it's the natural constitutional position of the soul. In this material world, we are all adulterated. We are contacting with matter, right? So we are all adulterated. And therefore, we see lust, desire, hankering, foolishness, sleep, all these Rajotamo guna activities are all going on. Passion and ignorance is continuously going on. But then when we become fixed in devotional service, we come to the mode of goodness and we rise even to the mode of pure goodness, which is called as the Vasudeva state. Okay, the Vasudeva state is also called a Shuddha Sattva. That means it is not mixed with Rajas and Tamas. So pure goodness means it is beyond ordinary goodness. What is ordinary goodness? Ordinary goodness means it is actually high percent of goodness, but there is a little mixing of Rajoguna and Tamoguna. That is only ordinary goodness. But when we talk about Vasudeva state or the Shuddha Sattva state, Prabhupada clearly mentions it is unmixed Sattva. That means it is goodness without any element, without unnecessary mixing of passion and ignorance. Only in the Shuddha Sattva state, actually we can see Krishna face to face. We can develop that real affection to Krishna and we can hanker actually to see Krishna face to face. So a devotee, as he's progressing and he's always in contact with Krishna, then he comes to this mode of unalloyed goodness. Once he comes to this unalloyed goodness, obviously Rajas and Tamas is not there, so he will not harm anyone. So, but however, this is interesting. Prabhupada is telling, if you're a devotee, if you have taken up to bhakti, if you are continuously in touch with something devotional, if you're in touch with Krishna, you will automatically have all the good qualities. But however, a non-devotee, however educated he may be, he will be harmful. A devotee is neither foolish nor passionate. The harmful, foolish, passionate cannot be devotees of the Lord. However, they may advertise themselves as devotees by outward dress. So a real devotee will not be harmful. If someone is harmful and he's advertising himself as a devotee, it just means that externally he's calling himself a devotee and he's not a true devotee. If one is a true devotee, he is in the mode of pure goodness. He has attained the mode of pure goodness, and all the auspicious qualities are there within such a person. So much so, Prabhupada says that quantitatively, such qualifications may be different, but qualitatively, both the Lord and his devotee are one and the same. So basically, a devotee who has transcended the modes of passion and ignorance, he has all the good qualities of the Lord. He starts displaying the beautiful qualities of the Lord. Okay, so this is coming to the stage of asakti. So he has developed taste, ruchi, and he has also developed sthitham. That is, he's become firmly attached. Asakti means to be firmly attached. Now, we'll move on to this. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavat bhakti yogatah bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. Translation, someone?
Where
Yes.
thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with the devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of the Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association.
Yeah, very nice. And as you see both the translation and also the verse itself, you can identify what are the remaining stages. Evam prasanna manasa bhagavat bhakti yogatah bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. He's completely liberated. He's got vijnan, true realization of the Lord. There is a difference between jnanam and vijnanam, realized knowledge of the Lord. Right? He's understood Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam. So, what are the remaining stages?
Mataji,
How
Bhava.
Yes, Bhava and Prem. Yeah, the final two stages are attained. So, in the final two stages, Bhava and Prem, the reason why it is mentioned that Bhava and Prem is told in this verse is because the mind is enlivened in bhakti and one realizes Bhagavat Tattva because he has realized, right? Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam. So, if one has realized Bhagavat Tattva, then he has developed Bhav. Bhav is nothing but a ray of Prem, right? It's a ray of prema. So he has developed rati, very strong attachment to the Lord, very strong love for the Lord. And he also develops prema because mukta sangasya jayate. He has completely gotten liberated. He's no more attached to anything of this world. His full attachment is only to Krishna. So bhava and prema. Bhagavat tattva vijnanam bhava and mukta sangasya jayate. He develops prema. So here in this verse, 20th verse, Chakravarti Path, he talks about, he has split this into 4 stages. We saw Bhav and Prem, right? Among the 9 stages of devotion, we saw Bhav and Prem. But among the 14 stages, he divides this further into 4 parts. After Asakti from the previous verse, he says, Rati is first developed. Rati means fondness. There is extreme fondness. Once you have become very, very firmly attached to the Lord, this devotee, he develops fondness. He develops Rati. Then he has prema. He goes to Rati and Bhav. He has put it together and he says, the person has developed devotional love, which is prema, and then he has 2 more steps that he adds. He says, he sees the Lord, darshanam, vijnanam is an experience, anubhava. So realizations follow prema. That means after a person has developed prema, what happens? He has darshanam of the Lord, internal darshan. And Chakravarti says even external darshan is possible. Okay. Generally, it is internal darshan, but external darshan is also possible depending on the case. Of course, in Kali Yuga, it's difficult to get external darshan, all that is accepted. But it is mainly internal darshan. At the same time, he says external is also possible depending on the case. Now, darshana means having a vision. It's vijnanam. It is like really experiencing God by seeing the Lord. And not only are you seeing the form of the Lord, but you're also experiencing his sweetness. In Narada Muni's case, think about it. He could see the Lord and he could experience that sweetness of the Lord, but the Lord vanished. Yeah. So not only see, but also experience the sweetness, and that is called as Harer Madhurya Anubhava. So after darshan, after rati, fondness, he develops prema, and then he has darshanam, which is vision of the Lord, and Harer Madhurya Anubhava. He's so sweet, Krishna is so sweet. So that anubhavam of that madhurya, that sweetness, that is what a devotee gets. What more does a devotee want, right? So let's see the translation. Thus, like Mataji read, thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge, which is vijnana, of the personality of Godhead. And the personality of Godhead is the tattva of the Supreme Lord. And in the stage of liberation from material association, he has completely cut out all these material attachments and is firmly fixed only in love for God. So in Bhagavad Gita 7.3, anyone wants to guess this verse? It is said that out of many thousands of ordinary men, only one is fortunate. One man endeavors for perfection in life.
Manushyanam Sahasresu.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Manushyanam Sahasreshu. Yes, 7.3. Kaschit yati siddhyaye yatatamapi siddhanam kaschin man veti tatvatah. Out of many, many thousands of men, one may endeavor perfection. And of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Yeah. So it is very rare. It is very, very rare. Why? Because in this world, we are constantly attacked by the modes of passion and ignorance. There is always lust, anger, greed, ignorance, sleep. All this is there. So all of us are very animalistic, right? Out of all such animalistic people, only one in thousand may become responsible, and he will try to perfect his life. At least he will follow prescribed duties. And out of many thousands of persons who have following prescribed duty, only one may want to know the ultimate aim of the human life. He may want to scientifically know about Krishna. And of course, 18.55 also mentions that the scientific process is actually bhakti. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yaschasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato jnatva vishate tad anantaram. So among people who are very civilized and who are having a nice regulated life, only one person might want to understand Krishna. And one can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna says, only by the process of devotional service. And when one is fully conscious of me by such devotion, only he can enter the kingdom of God. So all this Krishna has already told. So that person is very, very rare who's trying to understand Krishna scientifically through the process of bhakti yoga. So only very, very few people are even in that path. And such a person, he attains success by going above the modes of passion and ignorance, and he becomes a Vaishnava. And Prabhupada is telling that actually a Brahmana in general is a symbol of Sattva Guna, in the mode of goodness. Kshatriyas and others, they may not be in the mode of goodness predominantly, they might be in the other modes. So Brahmanical stage is the highest stage in human life. But then a Vaishnava is actually a liberated soul, and he's greater than a Brahmana. He's transcendental to the position of a Brahmana. So in material life, yes, in material stages of life, Brahmana is considered very, very great. But beyond the Brahmana is actually the Vaishnava, who comes to the platform of the Vasudeva state, or the state of pure goodness. So such a person who's constantly thinking of Krishna, and he is the one who can come to the stage of bhava and prema. Of course, it's a very long process. We are all telling, we are claiming ourselves to be Vaishnavas, but I don't think That is a good word for us because we are all aspiring to be Vaishnavas. According to this purport, to be a Vaishnava is something very great, actually. We are only aspiring to be Vaishnavas. After reading this purport, that's what I thought. Anyway, Prabhupada is telling, the fact is, however, one cannot understand the signs of personality of Godhead unless one is freed from the contamination of the modes, even up to the stage of Brahmana. When a qualified Brahmana factually becomes a Vaishnava in the enlivened state of liberation, he can know what actually the personality of Godhead is. So this is what Prabhupada is telling. Yeah. So we saw the 14 stages, the 9 stages, and then Vishnu Chakravarti's 14 stages. I would highly recommend you, Subodhini. And I think this is a question. 14 stages is a question. So please read. You might have to talk about the 14 stages. You might have to know the 14 stages. Okay. Yeah. So now, what we'll do is verse number 21. So in verse number 21, Sutta Goswami is going to tell us the result of following the bhakti process. So what happened from verses 18 to 20, we saw the bhakti process in 9 stages, which you all know, and also in 14 stages. Try to memorize both, okay? Try to memorize both so you can, I know it's hard, but please try. It might be a question. So you know this process from verses 16 to 20. Now, what is the result of the bhakti process? That is what he's telling here. Bhidyate hridaya grantis chidyante sarva samshayah kshiyante chasya karmani drishta evatmanishware. Translation, anyone?
Can I read,
May I
please,
read?
Mataji?
Go ahead, please go ahead, Prabhu. Amit Thakur, Prabhu.
Thank you. Thus the knot in the heart is pierced, and all misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruitative actions is terminated when one sees the self as master.
Very nice. So all these misgivings are cut into pieces once you have gone through this bhakti process. And you can understand Krishna as the super soul in everybody's heart. That is what you're going to realize. All the darkness of this material world is gone. You can understand who the absolute truth is, and you have developed a love for the absolute truth. So you're completely enlightened. This knot of ahankar has completely been cleaned out, and you are established in the loving service of the Lord. That is the result of going through this bhakti process. Prabhupada has written a very big purport, so we will go step by step, and we'll also do verse 22, okay? After we go through this purport. I'll just read some sections of Prabhupada's purport. But the essence is that as a result, all the misgivings are gone. How does he say that? He says, Bhidyate hridaya grantis. He says in the heart there is a knot. There is a knot of ignorance. That is bhidyate. Bhidyate means it's pierced. And not only is it pierced, chidyante. That means it is cut. Chindi, it is cut into pieces. Sarva samshaya. All the misgivings in this world that you're having, everything is cut into pieces. Kshiyante. That means, to completely cut, terminate, to just remove and take it out. Okay, kshiyante, chasya karmani, all the karma, fruitive actions, all that is removed. Drishta evatmanishwari. So one is able to see the self as the master, meaning one is able to understand his position. One is able to understand that the absolute truth is actually the master who's sitting in his heart. Okay, so purport of Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada is telling, attaining the scientific knowledge of the Supreme God means seeing one's own self simultaneously. That means you understand that you are the spirit soul who is always dependent on the Lord. Okay, the materialist does not believe in the existence of the soul. We all believe in the existence of the soul. But if a person is very materialistic, he will only think of the body. He doesn't think of the soul. Empiric philosophers, what are they doing? They are believing only in the impersonalistic feature of the Lord. That is what they believe in. But the transcendentalists, they tell us that the soul and the super soul are two different identities. We are qualitatively one with God, but we are quantitatively different. Prabhupada gives generally some analogies to understand this. He says, qualitatively we are one with Krishna, quantitatively we are different. Just like how there is gold in the gold mine, there is gold in my earring also. The gold in my earring is not the same as the gold in the gold mine. Qualitatively, it is the same, but quantitatively, there is a huge difference. He again gives the example of ocean water and a drop of ocean water. So the quality in a drop of ocean water and the entire ocean water is the same, but quantitatively they are different. What an ocean can do, can a drop do that? A drop will not be able to do that. So like that, he gives many examples to understand this point. He says, Krishna is like the sun, and this material speculations about the absolute truth are like darkest midnight. As soon as Krishna's sun has risen in the heart, the darkness of materialistic speculations about the absolute truth is cleared off. Anyone knows this Chaitanya Charitamrita verse? Krishna, Surya, anyone knows?
Krishna shows Maya.
Yeah. Yahan Krishna? Beautiful, yes. As soon as Krishna's sun has risen within one's heart, the darkness of material speculations of the absolute truth and the living entities are at once cleared off. Maya is so ashamed to stand in front of Krishna. She stands at the back of Krishna, right? So when Krishna rises in the heart, how can there be any darkness? In the presence of sun, where is the question of any darkness? All the ignorance is removed. Why? Krishna is residing in our heart as the super soul. And this is also a beautiful verse, 10.11. The Lord says that in order to show special favor to his pure devotees, he's personally eradicating the sense of darkness of all the misgivings. What is this verse? 10.11. It's Chatushloki. You will know. Aham Ajnana Jamtama. Yeah. Correct. He is that lamp of knowledge, right? He's clearing our heart. You can take out that verse. Here, etesham evanukampartam aham ajnana jamtama nashayami atma bhavasto jnana deepena bhashvata. To show them special mercy, I dwelling in their hearts, destroy with a shining lamp of knowledge the darkness of ignorance. Krishna is personally doing that. We saw that in the previous verses. What is he doing? He's cleaning the heart, right? What was that? Dhunoti. Vidunoti Supritsata. No, sorry, is that what I wanted to say?
Yes, Mataji. Vidunoti.
Vidunoti. Yes, Vidunoti Supritsata. So he's doing that for us so that we can clear our hearts and we come to know everything about the absolute truth. So a devotee cannot remain in darkness because a devotee is enlightened by the personality of Godhead. Then his knowledge becomes perfect. But if people are simply speculating by their own limited power, they will never understand the Lord. So a devotee, the beauty of a devotee is that he is not dependent on his independent endeavor, right? What is he doing? He's depending on the Lord. He's depending on the Lord because he knows his power is limited. And how is he depending on the Lord? He's taken shelter of a bona fide spiritual master who's coming in parampara, right? That's how the process begins. We go to a bona fide representative of the Supreme Lord. We take shelter under a bona fide representative and we inquire unto him. We are submissive. Because we are submissive, the knowledge is dawned upon us. So here Prabhupada is telling the devotees are submissive and therefore transcendental knowledge descends from the personality of Godhead to Brahma and from Brahma to his sons in disciplic succession. So we follow this Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, right? So in a bona fide process, we are receiving this knowledge. This process is helped by the super soul within such devotees. the external manifestation of the super soul is the spiritual master, and inside we have the super soul. So with the help of the external manifestation and the internal manifestation, the cleaning happens and we are able to understand God. This is the perfect way of learning transcendental knowledge. So when we are enlightened like this, we can distinguish between spirit and matter. The knot that we were talking about in this verse, we want to break that knot. Bidyate hridaya granthis. We want to pierce it and tear it into pieces. That knot, what is happening? That knot is ahankara. The minute we are born, we have this ahankara, identification with the body. That is the first problem we have. Identification with self is identifying with the body. This knot is called as ahankara, and it falsely obliges a living entity to become identified with matter. First identification is body. Body is matter. Then we are identifying with the external expansions of matter, other than our body. So when you associate with a devotee and take knowledge from the Guru Parampara, slowly that knot is loosened, and then all the doubts are cleared off by the mercy of the spiritual master and the internal spiritual master, who is the Paramatma. Once the knot, these clouds are all taken off, there is clear sunshine, Krishna. Transcendental loving service to the Lord is established within the heart, and we are able to see the Lord. But then in material existence, what is happening? We are simply creating our own chain of fruitive activities. But if we are engaging in the loving service of the Lord, we can become free from this karma. And the last verse for today. Ato vai kavayo nityam bhaktim paramaya muda vasudeve bhagavati kurvantyatma prasadinam. Translation, anyone?
Certainly, therefore, since time immemorial, all transcendentalists have been rendering devotional service to Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, with great delight, because such devotional service is enlivening to the self.
Thank you. So what happened? We saw about the bhakti process so far, right? From verses 16 to 21, we saw the bhakti process in steady method, like one by one, how a person progresses. And then we also saw the result of following such bhakti process. But then we have not progressed much, right? We are all in the Sanartha Nivriti stage, we said, and sometimes even lower stage. We are hoping to get there. And when we get there, all this knot is going to be completely pierced and everything is going to be great. We're going to see Krishna, Madhurya Anubhavam, all that will come. Great. But then what about the stage that we are in? We are still sadhana bhaktas. We're trying. In sadhana bhakti also, we haven't progressed much, right? So we are all trying. And in this trying stage, is there any difficulty or is it a nice process? That is the question. So these sages who are sitting, imagine they're all sitting and they're learning about the sadhana bhakti. They are hearing about bhakti and the stages of bhakti. And they are just told now that varnashrama is not going to take you too far. And even if you're doing varnashram, the goal should be Krishna. Instead, develop devotional service and all this they are hearing. But then they, like you and me and everyone else, we all have this question. We are in this process of sadhana. I don't know if I'm going to perfect it. So even at this stage, is it really going to be happy? Or is it a very strenuous process? Or is it a process that is not going to give results? Once Prabhupada was asked, what if all this was only some, this whole thing, this whole Krishna conscious process that you're talking about, there is a Goloka Dham, you're going to go to the spiritual world, you're going to see Krishna face to face. See, in this conditioned body, you have not seen Krishna. You're just having faith in the authorities and the scriptures, and you're hoping that by doing this process you'll go back to Godhead. What if there is no there is no Godhead at all? What if all that was really not true? There is no Goloka Vrindavan, the scriptures are false. What if it is like that? Isn't your life wasted? Prabhupada was asked this question. But then Prabhupada said there is no loss, because the process is like that. The process is such that every minute there is happiness. There is happiness in this process. There is no loss in this process. See, even if I was doing something else, I wouldn't be so happy as I'm doing bhakti. Even if there is no Goloka Vrindavan, even if everything was a false, I am not at any loss, because while going through this process, I have intense happiness. I didn't lose anything. What did I lose in this life? Actually, there is only gain. Because of being a devotee, all other material gains are also possible in one sense, because you're able to handle life with grace, right? So that was Srila Prabhupada's answer. Even if there's nothing, there's still no loss. And we are very, very happy being devotees. And that's what is being told here also. Even in sadhana bhakti stage, actually, there are no difficulties. There is only delight. So, certainly, therefore, since time immemorial, all transcendentalists, they have been rendering devotional service to Lord Krishna. Just keep rendering devotional service to Lord Krishna, and you can do it with great delight. Such devotional service, even little bit hearing, little bit chanting, it is so enlivening to the self. It's a very happy process. That's why Prabhupada said, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. There is no question of sadness in devotional service. And devotees are the happiest people in the world, right? Even difficulties, whatever, devotees have seen some of the worst things actually. We know this from the stories in Bhagavatam, which we are all reading regularly. There's not a single devotee, great devotee of Krishna, mentioned in the Bhagavatam, who didn't go through hell, who didn't go through difficulty. But they face these problems with grace, because the process is so beautiful, it is so enlivening, it keeps you very happy. Let's see what Prabhupada says. The speciality of devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead is specifically mentioned here. Krishna is Swayam Rupa, he is personality of Godhead. All other forms like Balaram, Sankarshan, Vasudeva, Niruddha, Pradyumna, Narayana, they are all extending from this Krishna. So you all know this, right? Even you'll soon know, even if we didn't know. In the further chapters also, it will be described in great detail. So there is Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. His first, his first expansion, you can say, is Balaram. And from Balaram comes the first Chaturvyuha, Sankarshana, Vasudeva, Aniruddha, and Pradyumna. Okay, these four forms, they come. And then from that first Chaturvyuha, there is Narayana. From Narayana comes second Chaturvyuha. And then from that second Chaturvyuha, you have Mahavishnu who comes down. Mahavishnu lies in the causal ocean. He breathes in and he breathes out. So many universes come from Mahavishnu. And then within each universe, there is a Kshirodakashayi Vishnu and a Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. From Garbhodakashayi Vishnu's navel, Brahma appears, the 14 worlds are created, and so on. So basically, there are so many forms of the Supreme Lord. And these forms, like the Vishnus, they are called as the Purusha avatars. There are Guna avatars. Guna avatars are Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. The Leela avatars, Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Vamana, Parashurama, and so on. The Yuga avatars, in every particular Yuga, there is a special Yuga avatar. And you all know the Yuga avatar in the age of Kali, especially this Kali Yuga is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So like this, there are so many forms of the personality of Godhead. And all of them are Lord Sri Krishna's plenary portions and integrated parts. So they are all Swamsha. That means they are all parts of Krishna. They are all Vishnu Tattva. So they are Swamsha. But the living entities, we are Vibhinnamsha. We are separated parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But we are also a part of Him. Though we are separated parts and parcels, still we are part and parcel. Mamayvamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana, Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita. We are all His parts. So Krishna is the original form, and He is very, very attractive. He is very attractive. He is the most attractive. He came to Vrindavan and He performed very beautiful pastimes. His pastimes are eternal, and they are manifested in due course once in a day of Brahma, just like the sun rises on the eastern horizon at the end of every 24 hours. So Krishna's pastimes are happening every single day of Brahma, and they are very, very sweet. We all are in this material world, and we are part and parcel of that Supreme Lord. So automatically, when the part is engaged in the service of the whole, why will the part not be happy? The part will be eternally happy. So it is very, very enlivening to the self. That is the best thing that we can do. And we do it with great delight. So Ataivo Kavayo Nityam Bhaktim Paramayamuda. Is this the next one? No. Yeah, this one only, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Ato vai kavayo nityam bhaktim paramayamuda vasudeve bhagavati kurvanti atma prasadhinam. So we are very, very happy even if we are just started the process of devotional service. Okay. So we finished 5 minutes early. We'll take few questions and then we'll stop. Yes, Tulsi Gopinath ji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat, thank you very much. Mataji, I was confused about that the verse before this one where it said the self, you see the self as the master. Is there any explanation from the acharyas why
it is self as the master?
Yes.
Drishti evatmanishvare. Okay.
Yeah, something like this. Yeah.
Yeah, we can see what the acharyas are also telling. Here, Prabhupada has mentioned about the Paramatma, but this is 21, right?
Because the impersonalists then kind of interpret that, oh, we become ultimately, right, the God, or instead of being the servant or godly.
Yeah, so basically
such statements. So I was thinking maybe our acharyas may have given some expanded some more explanation.
So basically, Chakravarti Pad, when he translates it, he says, on seeing the Lord in the mind and with the eyes, all karmas are destroyed. So basically, you're seeing the Lord within, not the Lord is seen inside. No, within means it's not that you are the Lord and you have to see Krishna within you. That's not the idea. The Lord within means seeing Krishna inside the mind and outside.
So that's the master, seeing the Lord inside, the self as the master, meaning the Lord who is the master.
Yeah.
Okay.
Seeing the Lord within the self, meaning you're seeing Krishna in you. Not in you, you're seeing Krishna within, like that.
And the self doesn't mean the Jivatma, it means the Lord.
So the translation given by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti is, ignorance is cut and all doubts are destroyed. On seeing the Lord in the mind and with the eyes, all karmas are destroyed. The Lord in the heart, not in the heart, ignorance is cut. This is reflexive verb from karma kartari, which indicates that destruction of ignorance is not the main result sought in bhakti. All doubts, such as thinking that attainment is possible, are destroyed. Having seen the Lord, who is the soul, Atmani, all karmas are destroyed. Or the Lord being the mind, Atmani, and then being seen directly, all karmas are destroyed. Thus, both the spurti of the Lord in the mind and the direct appearance to the eyes are indicated. So basically, here it is said, having seen the Lord who is the soul, all karmas are destroyed. Here the Atma is actually, when it says soul, self as the master, that self is actually the Paramatma who's the master.
Okay. Self means Paramatma. Okay.
The Lord who is the master.
Master.
In the mind. Yeah, you're seeing him in the mind and you're seeing him outside also.
Okay, so
of the Lord in the mind and direct appearance to the eyes both are indicated in this verse. Okay.
Okay, so we use self means like self-realized. So it gets confusing when the self means something else sometimes, and sometimes the self means the
self. There's Atma, you know, right? That what is that verse?
Atma Ramaschamune.
Atma Ramaschamune. So many meanings for Atma is given.
Okay, and Mataji, one more question I had was that when we say science of understanding the personality of Godhead or realizing, what do they mean science? Is it means that it can be verified like our modern context of science, or what is called science in
Science
perspective? in our devotional perspective, what is called science when we say science of personality of Godhead or self-realization?
Yeah, it's a science meaning a practical study. That's why it's called Vijnana, realized knowledge. It's not just knowledge, but it is like knowledge that is practically proven that you can prove, realized knowledge. That's why it's called science. Okay. So experiment, science we say for something that is you can experiment and prove, huh? That science.
Okay. Thank you, Mother.
Very well. Thank you, Mataji. Yeah. Next. Saudamani Mataji.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Mataji, for that class. Mataji, I had two doubts. First one is the 14 stages of bhakti, which you mentioned today by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti. So, here the fourth stage was Guru Padashray. Satam Kripa, then Mahat Seva, Shraddha, then Guru Padashray, and then Bhajaneshu Spriha. So I was thinking, Mataji, generally when we develop little Shraddha, then we start doing bhajan. But here Chakravarti Pad has mentioned that after Shraddha, Guru Padashray, then we don't get initiation so quickly. Then but we start doing bhajan. So does it here mean that that Spriha will come after initiation?
So when you have some Shraddha, what is happening is you're trying to take shelter and hear from a guru. Okay, you want to hear from a guru and you want to take guidance. Then you have some eagerness to worship because of the power of that person. So now, when we all have started our devotional process, we have started our devotional process and had that eagerness to hear and worship the Lord only because we are hearing from great transcendental souls. Right. Then, of course, we are going through a formal process of initiation. But then when we are hearing from that transcendental person who's very, very powerful, like who's on the level of a guru, that is when a true eagerness to worship the Lord begins. They say, right, these powerful souls, when they speak the message, it is very, very transforming to the heart. And you really want to take a bhakti seriously. So the formal initiation is only a process. It's a formality that comes later. Okay.
So Mataji, Guru Padashray means like when I started, I heard from a devotee in ISKCON. So he was not a guru, but we generally hear from any senior devotee and then we start. So Guru Padashray means hearing from pure devotees who are guru.
Guru Padashraya, yes, it means pure devotees only. You should take shelter of a devotee. That is when true bhajan begins. Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay, Mataji. Thank you so much. And the other one was that Asakti in text 19 we read, Ruchi and Asakti. Then Asakti means firm attachment. And you discussed about Shuddha Sattva there. So Asakti means in that stage, people are in Shuddha Sattva, Mataji. Means there's no adulteration in their bhav then. Is it like that?
They are almost there, Mataji. They are almost in Shuddha Sattva state, but because they are going to almost reach Bhava. Just Asakti is one stage before Bhava, right? So they are all. But even there also be distractions. Again, even in the stage of Bhav, there can be distractions. Ideally, yes, but even there also by the Lord's interference, anything can happen, like Jada Bharat. I mean, Bharat Maharaj. Yeah. Okay.
So generally, people are in Shuddha Sattva there in that state.
Yes, they have almost attained because they have firm attachment. They have removed these lower tendencies. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So
Thank you so
that's
much.
why I say the mind is unaffected due to being established in goodness and becomes completely happy. Cheta etair anavidham sthitam sattve prasadati. Okay. One has become firmly attached.
Firmly. Okay. Thank you.
And next. Narahari Prabhu.
Mataji, Hare Krishna. Mataji, I actually had a similar question on verse 19. You mentioned when you were describing the 14 stages, you mentioned a sthita, and which is steadiness, right? Um, but you said this is asakti. I thought, but if you look at the word sthita, it sounds more like nishtha, steadiness.
Oh, no, that is steadiness. Yes, that is steadiness. Nishtha is steadiness. But after you have done steady bhakti, you attain ruchi, which is taste. And then you have firm attachment and you are standing there in that attachment. Sthitham, he says. Chakravarti Pad says sthitham. That means at this point in time, your attachment is so firm, just like you cannot shake a tightly tied pole, right? They are fully there. They're fully there,
Oh,
fully fixed up like that.
okay. So it's like even more concentrated.
It's more concentrated, yes. It's
Okay.
fixed up, fully fixed up. The attachment is so firm. Yeah. Not just your bhakti is steady, but your attachment to Krishna is firm. There's a difference, right? First, our bhakti is steady.
Yeah.
Then there is very firm attachment. You can't take that person away from Krishna. It's not just that their bhakti is steady. It's like that.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Mataji. Mataji, this 14 stages, it's very difficult. How do we study this?
Maybe you can write it down. That will be the best method. Write it down directly from Subodhini or somewhere, even Chakravarti's thing. Just write the Mataji, Kirtida is there on the call, right? Still, or she left? Is there on the call? No. Okay. Maybe she left. Okay. Yeah, she left. Okay. I'll have to get back to you whether it is there or not. I forgot actually. But still, it's a recommendation to write it down and read. Even if we don't remember it all the time for the exam, at least we'll remember. I remembered this when I wrote it in one exam, but now I don't remember everything perfectly. But at least we can try. Yeah, just write it down.
Thank you, Mataji. I don't know, like if you're saying it is going to come in the exam, it's going to be.
I think so. I know my memory is bad. I don't remember if I said all 14 stages we should write in the exam. Is it there in the short answer? Oh, we sent you a question bank, did we? Not yet. No, we didn't. Okay, sorry. Then I don't know. Maybe I'm confused. I don't know if I did the question bank. Okay. So, but try to memorize the 14 stages. Write it down once, Prabhu. Let's try. Okay.
Thank you, Mataji.
Dandapranam Mataji.
Yeah. Yes,
I
Prabhu.
have this Subodhini. I'll take picture and post it so that everybody sees.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Very nice. Yes. Thank you, Prabhu. Satyam, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yes,
For that.
Prabhu.
Thanks for the nice class, as usual. Mataji, I have like a very simple question. Yes. So in one of the verses, there is a mention of twice born. Explain that.
Dvija Shrestha. No. Which one? Krishna.
I think it's a 1 to 16.
Shushrushah Shraddhadanasya Vasudevasya.
16.
Twice born. Okay.
So what's the, can you elaborate a little bit more? The 16th translation says what twice born sages.
Twice born here, meaning people who have gone through the samskara, or the sacred thread ceremony, that samskara, they are considered as twice born. But actually, I'm just saying word to word. Sushrushoha Shraddhadhanasya, with care and Vasudeva Katharuchi, Syan Mahatsevaya Vipra na? Vipra is the one that is indicating twice born. Vipra is generally a Brahmin. A Brahmin is Vipra. Remember in our previous class, we saw this. One becomes Dvija, Samskara Dvija. So when one undergoes Samskara of the thread ceremony, he becomes a Dvija. He becomes a twice born. That means he takes birth again, basically. So Brahmana, Kshatriya and Vaishya can be twice born, okay, when they go through Samskara. Samskara Dvija, and when you study the Shastras, you become a Vipra or a scholar. Okay, and then Brahma Janati Brahmana. As you advance and you try to know Brahman, you become a Brahmana. And beyond that is a Vaishnava. So just because you have undergone the thread ceremony doesn't mean that you have become a Brahmana. Yes, it is a step. It is the first step to be a Dvija, to become a twice born, because through samskara, through initiation, you've been initiated into the process of studying Shastras. Okay. So that is the first step. But then you have to learn, you have to read the Shastras. Then you become a scholar, you become a Vipra, scholar in scriptures. Then afterwards, you become a Brahmana, because the essence of the scriptures is telling you that you should aim for the supreme absolute truth. Then you become a Brahmana. But then a Vaishnava knows who exactly the supreme absolute truth is. So a Vaishnava is greater than just an ordinary Brahmana. So Vipra here means twice born. You can say Brahmana is twice born. Sometimes Kshatriya can also be twice born. Sometimes even birds are twice born, because birds first, they come through an egg and then they hatch out and they are again born into a little bird. Sometimes teeth is called twice born, because you have a milk teeth and then you have a permanent teeth. So twice born should be taken according to context. Okay, here Vipra is twice born. So once you undergo ceremony and you're initiated into studies, that is your second birth through the master, through the spiritual master. So you're called twice born. Make sense, Prabhu?
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol. Padmini Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. You mentioned something about the study group, Mataji. Is there any study group in this batch? That way we'll be more confident about facing the examinations and then the questions that you're going to post.
Yes, they do. Divyangi Lalitangi Mataji is there. I think she proposed to start one. Mataji can also.
Can you please ask her to put it across so that we can join the study group and, be more benefited from your wonderful teachings. When we finish this class and go, and again, we tend to forget, Mataji. Perhaps we will recollect.
Sure, Mataji. Divyangi Mataji, you there?
Yes, Mataji. So we are reading Bhagavatam, Mataji, twice a week. Padmini Mataji, I can share the WhatsApp group link in this chat, Mataji. If you would like
Mataji, I
to
didn't
join.
get any messages. When is this group happening? I would kindly request you to inform me so that we'll be there and get more benefited. If
Sure, Mataji. I will share the details with you, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Mataji. And about Mataji, two things I want to remind us. One is you said you'll give us the exact pronunciation of the slokas. You will send us a gentle reminder, and then about the question banks also simultaneously we should start preparing. Meaning, I meant it because as you finish the class, if you go through the questions, then it will be easily registered.
Do one thing. I don't think they're going to edit now, but you can go through the questions in the question bank that is there in the handbook.
I'll do that. Okay, Mataji.
Because 99% will stick to that. Only few questions will change, which we feel was not needed, and some other question was probably more important. We will add that, like that.
Got it, Mataji. Thank you very much, Mataji.
Very well. Yeah. And Parampavani Mataji.
Hare Krishna, dear Mataji, always beautiful classes. Mataji, are the Dvija Bandhus also go through the ceremony of twice born, like Upanan Sanskar and everything? Or like, because Dvija Bandhus, they're born in the family, but they do not follow, like they do not have probably the qualities by which they're identified as. But does they go to the samskaras also?
Yes, they go through samskara, but they are not able to tap into the correct qualities and they are not able to progress properly. Hence, they are called Dvijabandhus. What is the use, right? What is the use of becoming a Dvija? You're only a Dvijabandhu. That's all. Like that. Like Ashwathama, right? We are going to see his story soon in the first canto. Krishna calls him Dvijabandhu. He went through samskara, but what's the use? He's not behaving like a Dvija. So he's only a Dvijabandhu.
Because the purpose of Varnashrama is Haritoshana. Unseated Haritoshana.
Haritoshanam, yes. Yes, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji's, Mataji and Prabhuji's. Okay. We'll end here. Vancha kalpatarubhishcha kripa sindhubhya patita pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo.
Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Anantagoti Vaishnavebhyo ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Her Grace Preeti Vilasini Mataji ki jai. Thank you so much, Mataji. Very beautiful session.